Welcome, Fins faithful. The Miami Dolphins are heading to an off-season with one question that matters more than any other, and the answers is going to define what this franchise becomes next. Tonight, we're joined by a very special guest. We're joined by Dave Hyde, South Florida Sun Sentinel Hall of Fame columnist and author, one of the most respected voices covering the Miami Dolphins, to break down what Miami does next, which quarterback options are realistic, and what kind of offseason this new regime is truly facing. So let's dive into it. Let me, as always, introduce my co-host and co-pilot, Mr. Jason Sarney. We got a good one tonight, Sarney.
Yes, we do. We're welcoming Dave back. It's always a pleasure to talk with him and get his perspective. Really one of, if not the best in the business. So we're honored to have him on again. And I don't know if he's a fan of Saturday Night Live, but he's approaching the Five Timers Club. We might have to get him a blazer, a
blazer something. Yeah. We gotta get all right, so let's bring him up.
Let's do it.
Mr. Dave Hyde, welcome back. I don't know if this is the third or fourth time. But how are you?
I'm good. I love the introduction to Hall of Famer. It wasn't the Bill Belichick vote, just so you know. Yeah, we're talking Broward Hall of Fame, not
Broward. It's still Hall of Fame.
Slight difference.
It's an HOF. We're gonna go with the HOF there.
You're an HOF for your Hall of Fame in my book, Dave. How are you?
Good, great. A little depressed, when football season ends. It always is. Takes a little transition into the full off season here, although Dolphin fans have been in it for a while.
Yeah. All right, Jason, start us off here. Let's go.
Yeah, it's not your typical Miami Dolphin offseason. A lot of changes, brand new regime, Dave. So first and foremost, what's your thoughts of the new battery, the GM and the coach, Jon-Eric Sullivan and Jeff Hafley?
Well, that's my dog in the background. Hopefully not getting an iguana again. We got one iguana earlier this weekend, so the frozen iguana. But you know what? I like. I start everything with the Dolphins offseason with this, that they finally got it right. That you go out, you clean the decks, you go out and you get, to me, the number one person in any pro franchise is the talent evaluator. So they went out and they said, we're going to hire the best talent evaluator we can find. And so they did that, filled the GM role. And from there, they allowed him to find people he was comfortable with, obviously Jeff Hafley as the head coach, the Green Bay connection and all that. But it's a comfortable, first of all, they got the GM right, then they get a comfortable fit with the rest of it. So, I like the thinking behind what they did. Now we'll have to see whether it works.
Yeah. There were a lot of people involved in that decision. We heard about all the names, the son-in-law. What have you heard? Who were the biggest decision maker? Who was like the heavy hitter at the table? And how much kind of Aikman was he really a part of that? And he was at the press conference. So what have you heard about that kind of the decision-making part of this?
Well, the guy who drove it was the son-in-law. Okay, so you saw the transition coming, and this has been going on for a couple years. He's been behind the scenes. He's learned in different departments how they're run, how they work, and now this was really his baby where he went out. Now Troy Aikman had a big say in it as far as advice, counsel. It wasn't his final decision, but the fact he was in the room told you that he had more say. And then, I like that because too many of the people they had in the room have been around forever and have gotten it wrong forever. And so, it's good Steve Ross, sort of stepped back a little, even though obviously it's his final say of what goes on, but he let other people, lead the search.
Yeah.
Real quick follow-up, Dave. Sorry, George, but a lot of people were saying on Twitter, I know that's not the best place to get all your information, but Sully went with the guy that he knew. It was a buddy thing. I disagree. I was curious on what you think on his decision and if there was that, camaraderie, or what are your overall thoughts about going with the guy that he knew in Green Bay?
Well, as I was told, they went out and they looked around and whether they knew, I'm sure they knew several people. I mean, let's be honest. Okay. It's a small fraternity, but it's hard to get behind the curtain of a lot of teams and understand how things were done and what somebody exactly was doing, or and so you look, they hired the guy, they did their research that they liked, and look, I can understand why they like him. Now, again, does it work? We're going to have to sit back and watch how it plays out.
Yeah, and another thing is we talked about in leading up to this decision is the timing of the Mike McDaniel, him being let go. But I think when they got in that room, and I think Stephen Ross got a pretty good idea that he's not going to get the guy he wants if McDaniel is still around. But he listened. I think that's the key. And I think maybe the son-in-law, or maybe it was Aikman, I think that's the difference. He listened to the advice, and better late than never. It was a few days late, Darren Waller. Was it Darren Waller in the meeting, and he broke in and said, "Can I have a minute?" So, was the timing a couple of days late, but I thought it was definitely the right move. But let's get into this, because I know everybody loves to talk quarterback, and we talk about what the big decision in the offseason is. It's none bigger than what to do to a trade, cut, even keep. I know that's been around there with some of the remarks. How do you see this being played out with Tua? Because look, they're going to be stuck with the bill no matter what.
Yeah, I think they're just going to chop, move on. There's no trade value here. I mean, and do you want him back in the room as I don't think so. I think the new regime doesn't want him back. They're going to move forward and say, hey, it's a fresh start for everybody, including the offense. And so, Tua's going to be released, and then does he want to be a backup somewhere for, a few million or whatever it comes down to, as opposed to what he was making? I don't know. That'll be his decision. But I think from the franchise's standpoint, from the end of last season, and obviously there's new people in place, but it was all moving to, okay, we're done with Tua. We've seen enough.
Yeah. And
I think that's the right way to go. I think that they got to do that.
I agree. And I know there's been the slow chatter with him being hired in-house, and then Hafley kind of made a comment or two, but it's kind of what they got to say. And look, right. My opinion on it, Dave, is, I don't know if you agree, is the dead money is real. It's going to be $99 million over 2 years with $54 million guaranteed. They're going to have to eat all that regardless what they do. But I heard this argument, people say, if you're paying him anyway, keep him. I couldn't disagree more. This is bigger than the cap math. It's about moving the distraction. You can't have Tua around, turning the page like the Broncos did with Russell Wilson. You just got to hit the reset. And I think it's going to be a clean rebuild all the way from the general manager to the quarterback. And you can add talent with dead money. 27, it'll be better. But I would try to trade him. I would talk about eating most of the salary. Make this, I have one theory out there. I'll let you know, Dave. I'm curious your thoughts. But make him a 1 year, $5 million flyer for another team. Toss in a day 3 pick. What about Indianapolis? I know, Jason, I've thrown this around. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. Dome team, warm weather division. They give us Anthony Richardson. We give him a day 3 pick and eat most of the money. To me, that's the only hope. But I agree with you. There's zero chance he's coming back, right? Whatever avenue it happens.
Yeah, I mean, that's played out, and you don't really want him unless you actually thought you could rejuvenate his game, rehabilitate it, get him back there. But then it's the same old questions of his health. You got to build the offense around him, et cetera. And so, I don't think you want teammates who have been here the last year, the last couple of years, looking over and there he is, or you don't want fans saying whatever quarterback they get has a bad game. Well, let's bring in Tua. You don't. Yeah. It doesn't need that conversation. Okay. Yeah. Now, as far as trading him, you have the right idea. He's got to go either to a dome team, a warm team, a team that doesn't play in bad weather. But I guess if I was that team, I'd be saying, hey, they're going to cut him, and if we'll go after him then. So why maybe put a round pick, but
Maybe,
and something like that. We've seen that happen in at times. So maybe it was something like that works out. But as far as anything substantial or anything to get excited about, it's semantics. So do they try to trade him? Do they release him? I think we're going to end up in the same spot.
Yeah. I'm a sucker for the Anthony Richardson project. Maybe we take some of that money they got left. We take that problem off their hands for one of our problems. But shout out to the chat real quick. Everybody in the chat, loving you guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, hit the little bell, subscribe to the channel. So help the channel grow and continue to support. I appreciate you guys in the chat. If you have any questions, maybe Dave, we can answer some a little later. Go ahead, Mr. Jason Sarney.
Yeah, George mentioned Bobby Slowick staying around. Were you surprised at all that he was being retained as offensive coordinator? And a second part to the question is, what have you heard just of his experience so far in Miami and the positivity, hopefully, of him taking the reins as OC?
You know what? He was kind of a guy behind the scenes last year. How many? I'd have to count them up again. I did at one point. How many offensive coordinator / passing coordinator, running coordinator? How many minds were in the offense? And he was the latest. And you didn't hear anything bad. You didn't really hear anything exceptional one way or the other. And I guess I'm not surprised when you look at it, when you bring all the decisions together. All these guys have backgrounds together. Again, no surprise. That's how any business works. That's how the NFL. But Hafley and Slowick worked together in San Francisco. Actually, they worked on the defensive side. And Brendan Shanahan's kind of interesting. He tells anybody who wants to go on the offense, you should start on the defense, and learn that, and then come to the offense, because you're mentally you'll be ahead of the game. From that standpoint, again, these guys all know each other. They see football the same way, and Hafley has background in between LaFleur. He has one side and one side that's really popular in football right now, the offense I'm talking about. And from San Francisco, he has the other side of Shanahan. And so Slowick comes with a Shanahan background. I just know what everybody knows. I've talked to a couple people and they liked him last year, but again, he was in the background. He wasn't, the one making the big decisions. So you get back to the Houston, he had a great year, 1 year with that offense and the quarterback. And then the second year, he didn't. So, the Shanahan offense is very easy for as everybody knows, it's a friendly offense to step into, and that's really the foundational sameness to the last few with McDaniel. McDaniel took it in different directions, just like I'm sure Slowick will, but that's the foundation of it all. I don't know what Hafley's options were, but Slowick has background. I'm not surprised, but nor am I sitting there saying, well, they got the answer on offense either. So again, this is a staff we're going to have to sit back and say, okay, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Quickly, I know today they filled Slowick's spot with former Eagle. I know Dolphin fans are not really loving this. Former Eagles OC Kevin Batullo is the pass game coordinator for Mike Garafolo. So we'll see how that goes. But again, I agree. And to me, Dave, and I tell Jason this all the time, coaching matters, but man, I just wanted the right guy to pick the players, and that's the most important thing. So we hope that got right. Go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, one of the questions that's going to have to be answered is who is going to be in the quarterback room. And another potential Green Bay import to Miami is the rumored free agent Malik Willis. So do you think that that's a possibility, a bridge situation? They draft another quarterback as well. What are your thoughts about how the quarterback room is going to shape up?
All the above. What are the options? First, do they like Malik Willis? I'm going to assume they do. Now, we made this assumption a while ago with Joe Philbin. He liked Matt Flynn coming out.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't like Matt Flynn. But John Schneider did in Seattle, who And this is something I've written about to hang your hat on is Schneider and Elliott Wolf of the Patriots, Super Bowl GMs. Now they have different roles. Schneider runs the franchise, obviously. Vrabel does in New England, but Elliott Wolf, he runs the personnel side. He answers to Vrabel, but he runs it. Both of those have Green Bay backgrounds, so that's really what you're getting in Sullivan. That's the concept. Okay, he grew his last 2 decades plus 22 years. I think he's been in Green Bay and comes with that system, just as they did. And they were actually worked together for, I think 7 years, 6-7 years. So that's off the quarterback question a little, but the idea holds. The Green Bay way, I love it. I think this is you draft quarterback every year or every other year, as it sometimes turns out, but you're always stocking the quarterback room. And what John Schneider did when he went to Seattle, I think, is what's going to be the method here. They didn't have a quarterback. He had one on the roster. I think it was Charlie Whitehurst. A backup who is he good enough to jump? Sort of exactly like Quinn Ewers is what do they have here? Then they went out and they got Matt Flynn, and they drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. So when you say what's the method, that's the method. Throw darts at the board and hope you get one. Now, if you get Malik Willis, the question, of course, is cost and all that. But in his limited time, you like what you see. So what do they think? And what's the price going to be? Because this team is on a budget right now. They're in salary cap prison, as we all know. And so I ran into Mike Tannenbaum at the end of the season and asked him what Malik Willis would cost in the press box. He was doing radio, I think, before the game. And he said, maybe $30 million. Now, if it goes up to $30 million a year, that'd be a sticker price shock. And I'm not holding Mike to that. It was, it was just off the cuff. But the point being, there's going to be a lot of competition for him, and so we'll have to see how that plays out too. But I think there is interest there.
Yeah, I agree. And again, you bring back the Joel Philbin point: is do they like him? Just because you work with someone, I think your point is exactly. The $30 million kind of raised my eyebrows here. I was thinking if you can get him closer to 13 to 15 on a 2-year deal, that works. You know what I mean? For me,
I think that, but there's so many teams.
Yeah, the Browns.
The problem that there's one quarterback that everybody sees is ready for the NFL. Okay, Fernando Mendoza. After that, to draft, and then so you're going to have 6-7 teams looking for a quarterback, and they're going to be doing everything the Dolphins. Same thing the Dolphins are rating the free agents, and do we go to the scrap heap? Is Marcus Mariota, is he a starter? So I mean. There's going to be interest if the Dolphins like Malik Willis, other teams will too. And if they could somehow get him for 2 years, $20 million or something like that, I think that would be, and it's sold to Malik Willis. Prove yourself, and you'll get a massive deal. But we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's funny because as for the bridge option. Like, I love Malik Willis coming out of Liberty. I mean, he's still only 26. And we see with Sam Darnold, our quarterback growth is not linear. You know what I mean? With you mentioned with Sullivan and Hafley, there's some familiarity on a 2-year deal. I don't think, even if you sign him, let's say 2 for 30, I don't think it's going to restrict you long term. And you can still evaluate him and take a quarterback high, which I think is the plan in the 27 draft, because, I'm not taking a draft quarterback in the top 60 in this draft. Obviously, you said Mendoza. You can still take one in round 3 or a developmental guy, but I like Willis because he's still young enough. And hey, Dave, you didn't spend premium draft capital or premium money, right? So it's worth the shot, I think.
Yeah, I think the price tag. That'd be the price they'd love to get him. They'd love to get him at.
Yeah.
$15 million a year.
Yeah.
I think the interest is him and his agent. This is the agent gets premium price too. So I think it'll be, if it's 2025. Remember the salary cap's gone up, keeps going up too. So actually, it's interesting. I was looking through the percentages. What the Broncos had the dead cap money for Russell Wilson was like 60 something, 70, 60 something, I believe. It's almost the same percentage of the salary cap as what the Dolphins will have spent because it's gone up. So, yeah, that shows you can dig your way out. Of course, they got Bo Nix on a rookie contract, which is the best way to dig your way out of it.
Yeah, you hit on the quarterback, you hit on the coach, you can dig your way out of a lot nowadays in the NFL, right? So that's kind of the thing. All right, so let's move on to another guy who is probably most likely gone. Speaking of another decision, Tyreek Hill. This team is not in the best salary cap situation. You expect him to be cut, right? He's actually going to save them money on the cap this year.
Yeah.
Zero chance Tyreek's gone. I mean, he's.
Yeah, I look, he was gone if he was healthy.
Yeah.
It was just no way to keep it. Now you throw in this injury and all that. There's no chance. There's no chance he'd be back.
Yeah, speaking of what do you think they're going to do with the new regime? We have they mentioned their core players, A-Chain, Brewer, Brooks. Do you think they'll extend any of them or kind of slow play this thing and wait how it plays out? How do you think they handle it? It's one of the most interesting things for me is how they're going to handle especially the A-Chain extension because he's going to be looking.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things, and you're hitting on them both right at the top: the quarterback and how they're going to deal with contracts. I'm interested in, and I'm probably going to do a column on this coming up because this will sort of set who are these guys, the tone of what kind of a franchise they want to run, and because we've known dealing with the contracts, we've known what's gone on here in the last 3 years, 4 years, or anybody who was a good player and showed up a little grumpy in the morning to practice. Oh, we'll get you a new contract. How much do you want? They were just throwing money to needlessly, dumbly, like no franchise I have ever seen before. I call it a culture of comfort. That was what they just tried to make everybody happy. And so, Mike McDaniel's an assistant coach. That's how he motivated players. Hey, listen to me. I'll get you to your second contract. Okay. And as an assistant coach, or as a head coach, whole different. And as a GM, whole different ball game. And so those guys are gone. The Dolphins are left holding these contracts. So I'm interested how Sullivan going to deal with these contracts. Now, he, as we all know, he said, here's my core. And it included just the guys you mentioned who need contracts. And HN, he's the guy you want as a running back. Running back is it is right. It's a depressed market for running backs, but the ones getting money are the two-way threats, the receiver, the runner. And he's that. He can be a good wide receiver. He can come out of the backfield. You can put him anywhere. So I would think if you want to win, you're signing him, and same with Brooks and who's the third
Brewer.
Yeah, Brewer.
How would you rank them? How would you rank them? Your priority of 1, 2, 3. Who would you sign? Is it A-Chain first?
Yeah, A-Chain would be first. Probably. This gets back. What kind of offense are they going to run? We've seen Dolphins. Yeah. We've seen, and I assume it's going to be similar in the Shanahan mold. But we've seen, like when Parcells came in, they drafted a Samson Satelli, a second round.
Oh.
And he was a Brewer type. He's a small, agile, moving, but that's not what Parcells wanted big. So they traded him to, I think, the Raiders or the Colts. But the point being that when you change coaching staff and systems, that happens. So first I need to know what system they're going to, I assume it's just for the sake of conversation, it's going to be similar to what, and they'll want a mobile center like Brewer. So that idea, it'd be a HN and I'm going positions. I'd go probably Brewer. I want especially at some point, I need to keep my line healthy. I got questions at 3 other places on the line. And you look, Jordan Brooks was great last year, and actually for 2 years. People just didn't talk about him a year ago, but he's been great for 2 years. And but if I'm ranking a middle linebacker or compared to the other 2 positions, I guess he would be third.
Now, real quick, going to HN. I know that Hafley had mentioned they want to develop a toughness. Sully develop a toughness. The thing that I found most incredible about HN, obviously he's you don't want to call him necessarily undersized, but he's smaller than most backs in the league. But there were 21 running backs this year, Dave, that had over 200 attempts, and he led them all in yards after contact per attempt by a whole lot. He was the only one that hit 3.0. The next person down was at 2.5. So it's almost like he is running so much tougher than his body type. He's 30, 40 pounds less than your Derrick Henrys and your Saquon Barkleys. So do you think that will add to the need? And as you mentioned, he's a two-way threat, of course, but the old Dolphin way was, I'm not paying running backs, but this has to be a different scenario here.
Yeah, I'm curious. Again, we'll see what these guys think, right? Now in Green Bay, they went out and they paid a free agent running back, very good one, and so are they going to? So it isn't like they come in with some disposition that, oh no, the Green Bay way is we don't pay running backs. I talked to HN once and asked him what he's most proud of, and he says, I show up every Sunday. And that to me is the surprise of what are we, several years into his career now, and undersized, as you said, and that was the question coming in. He's not going to be able to take the NFL beating week after week, and the fact he shows up and produces has been a revelation. That's why he's going to get paid. I mean, you see the durability is an issue, especially at running back, and he's been very durable.
Yeah, and it's one of the fascinating situations you got to handle because he's going to be knocking on the door with his agent. And one thing I love about him, Dave, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm sure you have, is his ability between the tackles is so underrated for a guy his size. His vision, I trusted him more than Ollie Gordon to get a 3rd and 1, right? His vision, right? Did that surprise you? Is that why it takes it to the next level that you don't want to give him 15, 20 carries, but he's capable of it now, right? I think he's shown that. He's very underrated.
He actually came out of college with that as a plus. I can't recreate the stat, but he had some between the tackle stat that was surprising for someone his size. I think the first year he didn't run between the tackles real. The last couple he has, and it was, it was like, wait a second, he did in college. What's going on here? But whatever, the question is what do you pay him? What do you pay him? And I look at James Cook's salary in Buffalo, 4 years, $48 million. I think $30 million guaranteed. There's a sort of a conversational point to start. Now we're a year later, so that has to come into play. But that's sort of the general idea I think you'd have for what HN would cost. Yeah,
I agree. And that number is perfect. The James Cook number, even if he wants a little bit more, I think they got to do it and hopefully do it. Shout out to the chat again. The chat's loving it. They got questions. I'll try to pull some of these questions at the end here for Dave. Appreciate the chat. Make sure you guys hitting that thumbs up, little bell, help support the channel, help us grow. Jason and I appreciate it a lot. And I got an announcement tomorrow on our Draft War Room show about another giveaway. And of course, we gave away Dave's book. And
all right, another
they
one.
loved it. They loved it. Now, go buy his book, too. The
Amazon.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at here. Do you think that there could be some surprise cuts or trades with the new front office, new regime? Maybe Chubb, Fitzpatrick, Mika doesn't seem like he's very happy here. Do you see some surprises that, you mentioned, and we all know that the salary cap's not favorable. They're in salary cap hell. You see any surprise cuts or trades on the horizon this offseason for this new regime?
Well, the surprise to me is if they would trade Achane. There'll be a market for him if they want to trade him. Do they trade Waddle? They know they could have got a first-round pick for him. Those would be the surprises to me. The Chubb, the Fitzpatrick, I expect them to be moved. Because of contract, because of age. I wouldn't be surprised at all that you come in and you say, okay, and because the salary cap problems they have. Okay, and who are you going to build with? What age are we looking at? Injury history comes into play, obviously, with Chubb. So yeah, I think those two are. I think they might. I think they're probably the top two that I would expect to get moved.
And you mentioned Waddle, and I heard you say a first-round draft pick. So that was the rumor was pretty true. Was it Buffalo potentially that was offering the first round?
Yeah.
Okay, but now I don't know if they could still get that. But heading on into the draft, do you think that it's a chance that they turn the page to 2027 and try to load up for draft capital by trading Waddle? Still, is that still you think?
Okay. I think there's more meat on the bone with Waddle that they haven't got to for whatever reason. And again, you look at, he's one of these quietly pretty durable receivers. Again, I surprised me whenever I look at his stats and I thought, wow, look how many games he's played. Because again, he's undersized. And the other important thing is he's very at this point, a team friendly salary. I think it's $8 million next year. Because all the $8 million against the cap, because of all the money that's been paid out. I had to double check that, but I know it's a team friendly contract. So, and again, the other thing, you bring a quarterback in, how are you going to help him? You need some playmakers. You need somebody to help him. And so I hope they don't trade Waddle unless, look, I'm so against tanking. I hated it in 2019 when they did it. I just, my phrase is, now I got to recreate it here. Smart teams don't tank, and if you're not smart, don't try it.
It's a shortcut for your mistakes, basically.
Yeah, they try to trick the system.
Dave, it's like I saw your article. It's like what the Heat are trying to do. Stop shortcutting it. Rebuild, man. Stop looking for the next well out there. It's just a shortcut to the process because you don't want to kind of do it the hard way. And I think that's the way. I think that's the way the Dolphins are going to do it. Jason, you got something to say?
No. I'm glad that you said that there's some meat on the bone left with Waddle. He's obviously had one of the best starts of a career for a Miami Dolphins wide receiver. And look, it would be tough to probably turn down a first-round pick and change, but I don't know that they could get that. But you make a great point. Whoever the quarterback is, they're going to need someone to throw to. And Tyreek Hill, we all know, is probably not playing here or anywhere. So I like what you said about Waddle.
Yeah. So let me ask, Dave, right situation, would you entertain an Achane or Waddle trade? Like, what would it take? Or you would turn either of those guys, who would you be more reluctant to deal if they go that route? And like, what would it take for you? Or you're just, no, we're not doing this offseason.
Well, I think Achane's a special player. So, again, you look at the guys who are getting paid, McCaffrey. There's a small handful every
Barkley,
of impact players,
yeah.
But the guys who I want are the two-way running backs. They're two-way threats, and Achane is as much a threat as a receiver as he is as a runner, and those guys are really hard to find and they're hard to defend, and so I haven't really thought about what would it take to pry him loose. I don't think anybody's going to. What McCaffrey get? I'm not putting him quite in the McCaffrey class, but if he was in San Francisco's offense, he'd be nationally. Oh, look at this guy, he's amazing. So I don't think anybody's going to offer that. But look, who won the deals? Carolina or San Francisco? San Francisco did, because they got a guy who's almost an MVP player. He's right off the cusp of this year of being an MVP, right there at the top. Why don't if somebody offered a first round pick, you'd have to really consider that. The Bills did at the trade deadline, and I'm glad they didn't. Yeah, why stock Buffalo? That'd be my thought there. But it's the off season, and if someone offered a first rounder, I'd really have to consider that.
Waddle to the Chargers.
Yeah, right.
Well, they got Gase now too, don't they? Boy,
yeah.
Boy, if they, I was just thinking.
You see where Tyreek Hill might end up.
Yeah.
Huh?
Imagine Tyreek Hill ends up there. They win it all with Herbert, McDaniel, and Gase. Pack it up.
Now that's nightmare fuel.
Dave,
that's nightmare
pack
fuel.
it up, man. Pack it up.
Where's my aspirin?
We're gonna need something stronger than aspirin if that happens, Dave. I'll tell you that much.
We'll see you on a boat fishing a lot more. That's it. It's done, man.
But you mentioned the free agent market. Obviously, they're going to be frugal. Malik Willis aside, do you think that there might be some surprise Packers or any other free agents that you would think are targets? Romeo Doubs is out there, Quay Walker, or anyone across the league that you think Dolphin fans should kind of hone in on?
I think they'll be looking at the so far below what makes headlines. It'll all be young potential guys who practice squad or somehow they had a belief in the draft and they fell through the cracks here a little in their opening years. I think it'll be those type of guys. I don't think they're going to be making first of all, they don't have the money. Second of all, the first year really isn't the time to go and make a big splash. Now, the problem is they need two cornerbacks just to line up. They need two edge rushers just to line up, depending if Chop Robinson keeps playing like this. And I'm assuming Bradley Chubb won't be here. They need so many things that you can't just say, oh, we're going to fill in with hope and potential and young guys. They'll probably get some veteran guys on the cheap. And I haven't gone through the list to see what's going to happen here. But, there's always a couple veterans who are the type of person you want and won't be expensive. And I think they'll have to get a couple of those guys too.
Yeah, we mentioned. I remember we had Jacob Westendorf who covers the Packers for Packers on SI. You mentioned Quay Walker as a name.
There you go, somebody like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because didn't one of the comments I liked a lot of what Jon-Eric Sullivan says, but Jason, I'm not correct. Or Dave, one of the comments was they usually go big, or like they in free agency they try. I don't remember exactly what he said, but insinuating that when they go for it, right? Like so. But I think this is the first year. I don't think. Well, heck, if they sign Malik Willis, I mean, that's the quarterback position, right?
It's interesting that the Green Bay way draft and develop. That's sort of that's the idea. Or is it? Because I mean, of course, that's a tenet of any team. And probably in Green Bay as much as anybody. But you look at again these Super Bowl teams. Seattle had the third most free agent money this offseason, and New England had the first. And they spent like crazy on free agents, and they hit. And that's how you get in the Super Bowl, of course, that you hit on personnel decisions. But so it isn't just draft and develop. It will be for these guys right now because, they're going to have to clean up the spills on aisle 5, 6, 7, and 8 this season.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned that. A lot of people said defense was the big lesson for the Super Bowl, and it certainly mattered. But to me, the real takeaway is consistent success in the draft. That's how championships are built. The hit rate for John Snyder. To me, that's what I mean. Defense matters, but the guy to pick the groceries again. And with Sullivan and the new regime in charge, what's the draft approach Miami should take from day one? So make sure they're hitting on picks. Like, what is it that you want to see change for the last 25 years? What if you could pinpoint one thing?
And one thing, get good players. They haven't got enough good players.
Get on them.
I mean, really, that's it. That's the
it.
bottom line. There is no. I'm not sitting here saying, oh, they need to beef up the offensive line or they got to get. No. You know what? You look at this roster. They need good players. They don't have enough good players, and they haven't had it enough in years. Okay. There was 1 year. What was it? 2023, McDaniel's first year when they were. If everything went the right way, they had enough to make a run, and things didn't go the right way. But again, I went through it. Look at the defense, the impact positions, cornerback, edge rusher. They got nobody. Okay, look at the offensive line. What are they going to do with Austin Jackson? There's another one.
Yeah, that's another one.
Between health and cost. Is he coming back? You need 2 guards. So again, they need player. You need another receiver. You need a tight end probably. Yeah. I mean, so we'll go down the line. What don't they need? So what has to change? Their draft has to start getting players that can actually. New England had 4 rookies who 2 started on the offensive line. 1 started on defense, and 1 was a specialty. Played a lot. 1 was a kicker. But I counted like 5 or 6 rookies who contributed a lot. And imagine that on a Super Bowl team. And Seattle, I think that the number was 20 draft picks from the past 5 years were either starting or significantly playing. For them, and that's you go through the Dolphins draft. It hasn't been anything like that.
Best player available. No,
smells like BPA. Yeah, it smells like best player available.
That's the strategy. Speaking of draft, one of our guys, Adrian. What guys in the draft that Dave loves for Miami? Anybody? I know you probably haven't gotten into a bunch of prospects. Anybody catch your eye? Maybe watching.
Yeah, no, I haven't really. I haven't even started that, to be honest with you. It really, everything changes at the NFL Combine anymore, to the point I really don't start even looking at it very hard until that, because then I'm not sitting there breaking down tape or anything like that. I'm talking to I have a few scouts I talk to and say, and they'll say, this is rising, or this guy, or what do you think of this guy? Yeah. And that's really what I base it on. But I haven't sat there and really looked at. All I know is there's no quarterbacks. I do know that there's no quarterbacks to the, that they can hope will fall to them. I know the 2 Miami guys because I covered them and talked to them, Bain and Malago. If either of them would drop, that'd be perfect for the Dolphins. Yeah. So but to compare them to other guys right now, I haven't done that.
Fair. Well, I love to watch tape, so you need to check out our War Room episodes on Thursday where we have all the draft stuff.
Who do you guys got? Who do you guys give me a name?
Oh, that's a loaded question right now.
That's a loaded question. But we'll put it this way: the safety Caleb Downs from Ohio State's there. He's a gold jacket guy.
Yeah, I just saw that, and somebody had him in a mock today or yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's an interesting pick. And someone else had him going 5th too. So
who knows? I mean, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. And you said Combine can change things, and they just got to take Dave. You're right. The best guys on the board. And another thing you mentioned the thin quarterback class that helps Malik Willis. So that number, we talk about what's going to be the number for Malik. He's not going to take it. This is his payday. He's not going to take a discount because he knows Hafley.
No, I agree. There's
no quarterback. So to me, that's. And speaking of quarterbacks, I love it. You mentioned earlier, but I love when they said they're going to draft a quarterback every year. They have been allergic to the competition in that room. I hope they're telling the truth here, Dave. To me, that's been one of the biggest problems in this organization. And it's just like a weight lifted on. I'm like, finally, like it's okay to bring in a guy to compete or a young guy every year. The mentality in the room, right? That to me, that was the biggest thing I heard on the press conference.
Again, this culture of comfort, just makes you happy. And before that, Ryan Tannehill, we're going to ride him because we picked him, and he's our guy. Well, all you need to know about Green Bay, and they've turned out a lot of backup quarterbacks who went elsewhere and played when it was time for them to get paid, and they just find some other backup or draft another backup. But look at their starters. Obviously, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love didn't pay higher than what would Love go? 26.
20, we traded with the Dolphins.
Dolphins traded back in the no monogamy situation.
What's new, guys? What's new?
But then talk about how uncomfortable they made it for those guys. They overlapped. They had Favre, and he was irate when they drafted Aaron Rodgers. Then they have Aaron Rodgers. He's irate when they draft Jordan Love, and then they dump those guys, these legends, a year or two before it's their time, they can. So this is not, these guys were raised with the idea of we're going to protect the franchise, not protect the image or the feelings of a quarterback.
Love it. Love it.
That's exactly what I think a lot of people want to hear. I mean, say what you want about the Packers and the quarterback, but they've done that right with those progressions. So, the Seahawks had their parade today. What do you think the Dolphins can learn or have already started to learn from their Super Bowl run?
Well, you look at both these guys. New England. New England's taking a lot of heat right now, but they weren't ready. I mean, this was a shock to them that they made the Super Bowl, right? I mean, if they had lost the AFC Championship game to a healthy Denver and played well, everybody say, "Well, New England's on the rise." But both these teams, look at their defensive lines. They've got tons of pressure and very physical, very active, and it was at Milton Williams. The Dolphins really didn't see much of him, I believe, this year, right?
He was hurt, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he only played 9 games, and I don't really remember him playing I'd have to look. But the point being, Seattle was rotating like 6, 7 defensive, and there's tons of pressure. So if there's anything to learn, it's you better have a great offensive line. Actually, the last 2 years have shown when Patrick Mahomes was running for his life against Philadelphia, and Derek May, look, he was a little overwhelmed in the game. His second year, it took him for a while to figure out what was going on in defense, but he was also under a heavy rush too. So the last 2 Super Bowls, the team with the better, more physical defensive line has won. So, yeah, I'm not going to. The Chiefs went to the Super Bowl 5 straight years and won 3 because with Patrick Mahomes driving them. So this doesn't mean you need a defensive line. Defense wins. To get to that level, you need both. Probably you need both. And Sam Darnold, he didn't make the big mistake. He wasn't asked to do a lot in this game, but this was a defensive game, obviously.
You go from seeing ghosts to seeing the Super Bowl trophy. Sam Darnold, you just never know. And again, Dave, this is a talent acquisition business still. And bottom line, you said there's different ways to do it, but you got to hit on the draft picks. And you hit on more of those, the better odds you got, no matter which way you do it. Whether it's the defense and the Sam Darnold, or you find you have the guts to go up and get him a Mahomes, and you still drop ball. Either way, I think that's the bottom line. It's still a talent acquisition business. I'm sure you would agree. So, all right, Dave, we've had you on for almost 50 minutes. This is I don't know if this is his 3rd or 4th time, but when does he get the Finn's Faithful hat or jacket? Jason,
the 5th appearance, we're going to get him a nice little blazer or hat.
I'm going to feel like the late night regular guest host, when he comes in. I have my own chair, my own.
We'll get you the whole smoking jacket. Make you a nice bourbon drink or whatever you like. We'll take care of you.
All right, sounds good.
We'll do it again. Maybe after the draft, the free agency or something. Dave, let everybody know. We appreciate you coming. Let everybody know what you got going on, what articles you're working on for the Sun, and where they can follow you.
Well, I'm trying to find articles right now since football ends, and I'll be doing the Heat. The Panthers are in the Olympics right now. Probably do a little basketball and maybe take a few days off here. So, but no, it's things come to a screeching halt when football season stops.
Well, Dave, might I say, are the Heat becoming the Dolphins? I mean, is that more?
You can't. You look. The Heat have been to 2 finals in the last 6
Yes.
years. They have 3 championships in the last 2 decades, and they've been to the finals. 7? If the Dolphins had 3 Super Bowl wins in the last 2 decades and been to the Super Bowl, I mean, no.
What we would give to be the Miami Heat.
Yeah, what we would give for that, boy.
I gotta salute you guys for the optimism and passion of the Dolphin fans blows me away sometimes because this franchise really hasn't helped your cause much.
No.
We have a healthy mix of optimism and delusion, and we like to call that hopium.
They're neighbors.
Oh, they're on the same block. Exactly.
We love the extra work, and I hope that's. I always say that's what sets you apart. Keep your nose down and grind. And we love the team. We love doing this. We love covering them, and we hope people enjoy it. That's why we all. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up so we can continue to have guests like Dave Hyde. And tomorrow, we got the Finn's Faithful War Room. We're breaking down. We're going to do a little trade back stuff. What do the options look like? Might even throw in the mock draft. So stay tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. We got the Finn's Faithful War Room. I know Dave's going to check it out. We're going to get Dave caught up.
Make sure it's a good show, okay?
Yeah, we're going to do our best. You hear that, Jason?
No, I'm ready to roll. I got the scenarios all ready to rock.
All right, guys. For Dave, for Jason, for myself, we'll see you tomorrow night, guys. Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you later. Stay healthy, stay faithful. We're out. Thank you, Dave.